Hi, everyone. This is my testimony. Um, I wanted to take a little bit of a different angle here to testimony. Um, I know a lot of times testimony looks like, a predicament either we've gotten ourselves into or we're in through no fault of our own. Um, we pray, God does something miraculous, everything kind of ends up happily ever after. Or at least that's the way it kind of gets. Those are the ones that make it to the pulpit or the podium on Sunday morning. um, but I wanted to talk a little bit about a testimony, maybe in process, I guess is one way to think about it. A lot of the work that I do in my life that is ministry for me is working with people in 12-step programs. So um, I am a recovering alcoholic and prescription pill addict. And like I said in one of my videos, like working with people in 12 steps is very life-giving for me. If you're familiar with Henry Nouwen's Wounded Healer, like that makes a lot of sense to me. Just that metaphor, that model for um, working with others through that wounded place that God is still even healing me in. So that's a little bit about the background. I've been working with this person through the 12 steps process with I'm what they call their sponsor. And so what we do is we talk regularly. I share my own struggles, how I came to sobriety, how God's worked in my life since then, and even through the transition of how I hit rock bottom and God scooped me up and put me back together. But I've worked with this person for a little while, and they, as we say, they went back out, which means that after they decided that they couldn't take it, they couldn't deal with it, and they went back out drinking and using drugs again. And this has happened on numerous occasions, and each time it happens, it's really hard. It's really hard on me. And I begin to think, did I fail? Did I do something wrong? And I start to go through every conversation and think, should I have said this or should I have said that? Was I too hard on them? Was I too soft on them? Did I, all the things that run through your head when something doesn't quite quote go right, so to speak, when there's no happy ending. So that was the predicament. That happened earlier this week, and so I was kind of down about it. Um, and I guess sometimes I think what is the question is what is the testament to what God did. um, and sometimes it seems like, or at least it feels like, God just let it happen. Like God didn't stop. He didn't put his hand over the bottle. He didn't prevent them from going to the store to buy liquor or call their drug dealer or anything like that. Um, and that's a hard space to be. And when these things happen, sometimes I think about Jesus' death and his crucifixion. Right? It's sort of like, I know the Bible talks about it being foreordained from the foundations of the world, but at the same time, I think like the existential moment of just letting it happen and wondering what his followers thought, and like how in the world is this part of any kind of process or plan? What are you doing here, God? You said you were going to bring Messiah. Like, what is this? Um, and I think for me, I guess what I learned um, from this is that I don't think the ministry work that we do is necessarily about winning, right? I don't think my work as a sponsor or working with other people or anything in ministry that I do, it's not dependent, like my success or failure isn't dependent upon like outcomes, right? It's not, well, I was a failure. I didn't do what God asked me to do. I didn't show up. I didn't I didn't give of myself. I didn't minister from my wounded place. That kind of thing. Just because the outcome isn't what I thought I hoped for, even I expected or I even hoped for. Um, and so I think it's this process that I think God's been kind of slowly bringing me through. And this is just one more time um, where God's working to kind of divorce this idea of winning. It's always about winning. You always have to have the happy outcome. You always have to have the win. You always have to have the person's life is put back together, and that's the only testament to God's goodness. So in some ways, I'm still struggling to make sense of it, but sometimes I think, if I look at it from a perspective of Jesus' ministry, he was a small itinerant preacher with a band of people who was ultimately executed by the state, right? So in some senses, like if I look at it from that perspective, like he kind of failed, right? Like I know we have the theological understanding that was all part of the plan, but looking at it from another angle, like he didn't win. He was murdered for what he did. Um, and so that helps me as I think through what feels like a failure, what feels like something that's um, not what I had hoped for. My hope is that this person um, gets miserable enough to reach out for some more help. And I don't know what that'll look like in terms of me or someone else helping them, but it's not good. Excuse me. I know that my job is to show up and be present and to do everything that I can do, regardless of whatever the outcome is. Um, yeah, I guess that's the testimony that I have right now. It's kind of an in process. It's not a happy ending. It's still kind of a big question mark. I hope this makes sense. I hope maybe it resonates with some other folks' life and experience. And yeah, thanks.